Are we good? Hey, we're live. Can you believe it? This is Shane. This is the Camel.co powered by Duda. And this is our live stream. First up, ladies and gentlemen, bit of apology about last week. Now, you know, they say don't work with animals or children. They should actually add in there, don't work with internet service providers, because there we were, 8:30 on the knocker, because I'm a stickler for time, about to press the go button. We're live. What happens? Boom, nothing. Lost power, lost internet, nobody paid the bill, right? That's what we say in Australia. Didn't you pay your electricity bill? And what happened? We were out of action. But we were ready, folks. We were ready to go. And we tried for about 15, 20 minutes, and then finally the power came back on. But we lost all our settings. We lost all the setup. It was a disaster. And I think it was about 9 o'clock, so half an hour late. And we kept going. And what we were going to do was put up the recording. But because all the settings were lost and everything else, that my voice and my face were not in sync. So I was talking and then delay. It was terrible. So I decided it wasn't professional, wasn't good, and give it the flick. And today we're back, folks. Play it again, Sam, live stream. So all the stuff we're going to talk about last week, we're going to talk about this week. And what are we going to talk about? We've got lots to talk about. Jamar, Clarissa, they're here, making sure we sound professional and look good. Now, what are we going to talk about? Oh, yeah. I wanted to talk a little bit more about good old AI. Let me put on my glasses. And why do I want to talk about that a bit more? Because it's been in the news, kids. Been in the news. My hero, Elon Musk, God bless him. We need more of him in the world, right? He was in the press last week. And you've got to love this guy. Why do I love Elon Musk? Let's get into that, right? First of all, his thoughts on AI are pretty good. But I admire him because I love risk takers. You know that? Because I am a risk taker. And most entrepreneurs, we're risk takers. I was talking on my webinar this morning with Ruan Mahinda, and I'm telling you, that's a great webinar. And we discussed that it's like part of the DNA of a big risk taker. But how can a man that's worth $175 billion, how can you say he's a risk taker? Let me give you a few features of Elon Musk and how he took risks and how he overcome it. First of all, his first foray, he was rejected by Netscape. I don't know if anyone can remember Netscape, but back in the day, you had Netscape and you had, it was like a, what would you call it? It was a search engine. Right? And I loved it because it was really sexy. It was super green. And, so he had an alternative back in the day, not just Google. Well, he got rejected by Netscape and he started up his own thing, which is called Zip2. Anyway, Zip2 got up and running and it was doing well, but they did a Zuckerberg on him, and that was the board fired him. He was a CEO, he's a founder, and he got fired. So next thing he did, he decided he would start up a thing called PayPal, right? Now, PayPal, it was initially voted, you ready for this? The worst business concept of the year, right? In 1999, okay? But 3 years later, right, it was bought out by eBay and it made Elon some small change, Jamar, small change, $175 million. So something that was voted the worst, he got $175 million out of it. Let's look at Tesla. Now, Tesla was falling on hard times before it became profitable in 2008. It was just about done, right? And Elon used all that money that he'd made from PayPal just to prop it up. And he was officially broke again. But then he got even more money from family and friends, and in 2023, folks, it's still electric, it's still going strong, and I don't know about you, but me and nearly everyone I know, we'd all love to own a Tesla. Yeah, it's had a little bit of problems, all right, but it's there. SpaceX, right? Now, recently, last week, they put the biggest rocket and it got halfway up and blew up. But what they're saying is a couple of things failed and they blew it up. But let's look at SpaceX before. Again, in 2008, he had a chance that he had to get it up and running, and he had enough money for three blasts off. They all failed. They blew up either on the pad or just as they took off. So he had enough money left for one more shot. And what did he do? Let it go, and it worked. He was down to the last dollar, technically broke again, gambled it all, took a risk, and put up the next one. And what happened? It was successful. And he got awarded a $6 billion contract from NASA to be the first private company to become basically an Uber for space. Right? They became a truck driver, a delivery thing, DHL. Right? I gotta love the guy. Twitter. Okay. A tweet cost him $44 billion when he said, I could run it better and all that sort of stuff. And he had to own it. Now, Twitter you may be looking at it and think, oh, well, I don't know how it's going to go with that. I don't know how it's going to go either. But you've got to look at the risk he's taken, right? He got rid of 80% or something of the people there, and he's decided he's going to make it work and turn it around. Now, will he? Judging by his track record, folks, he will. But what does it show you? Elon, you've got to listen to him when he opens up his mouth. Now, drum roll, please, he's looking at AI. And he wants to join the AI roadshow. And what he said is interesting. And he's not alone in this, because Bill Gates said on April the 7th, Gates said that easily AI could go out of control. The problem is no more urgent today than what it was before the AI developments of the past few months. Bill Gates is concerned about AI. Stephen Hawking, remember Stephen Hawking in the wheelchair talking through the thing? Good movie, actually. If you want to watch a good movie, it's a good movie. Stephen Hawking didn't hold back when he talked about AI. Back in 2017, he said this to the BBC. The development of a full artificial intelligence could spell the end of the human race. Now, Elon, he wasn't as bad, but he was close. Last week, he said an AI alternative approach is needed to avoid the destruction of humanity. I'm going to establish maximum truth AI, seeking an AI that cares and considers human existence. So he's got Twitter, he's got SpaceX, he's got Tesla, he's got Neuralink, he's got this, and now he's going to get involved in AI. So destruction of humanity, am I worried about that? No, because I'm a bit bullish on AI. Are we worried about AI when you ask it a few questions? I think, folks, we are a long way off from Cyberdyne being opened, Skynet being established, and Arnold Schwarzenegger running in with stainless steel arms, right? I think we're not going to be worried. But what I am worried about with AI, and I've only noticed this the past few weeks, the reason I'm a bit worried is when you ask AI, and I told you all, we've gone a bit bullish in TheCamel when it comes to AI. We use it as a bit of a foundation stone for getting conversations going, getting creativity going. But one of the things that concerns me about AI is it's a bit socially responsible when you ask it a question, right? And you've got to think about it, that AI, it's got to be initially programmed by somebody, right? So that person, it's like its dad, right? And its mum, and it's programming the little child called AI. So the first impressions it's got of life, its first feelings and everything are what the programmer puts in it. And that's the only thing that concerns me. As life goes on and it grows up and goes out and plays with, metaverse things and all that sort of stuff, then it starts to grow and get its own feelings and thoughts because it gathers information. But at first, I'll give you a good example. I asked a question of ChatGPT, wasn't for me, it was for a friend. Is it dangerous to drink a bottle of scotch a week? Pretty simple question, because this person happens to have a couple of nips a night just to calm down, chill out, the 5 o'clock drink after a hard day, and he was a bit concerned that he was drinking a bottle a week. Now, what did ChatGPT say? ChatGPT came back with, one must be socially responsible with drinking. I'm not joking. That's what it said. And then it gave a bit of a lecture on how you should control your drinking, and almost, sponsored by AA in the background. And I'm telling you, if you ask it what is a woman, be prepared, folks. It's very left the way it answers you. So that's my only concern at the moment with ChatGPT. And I think that's what Elon was getting at. And I think that Stephen Hawking and Bill Gates, that's what they're getting at. It could be a bit one-sided. Right? It depends. Like Google is going to bring out Bart. Well, what I love about Google, when I ask it a question, it gives me a page full of answers, and I can get to choose to read those and get different opinions. But with AI, you're getting one, and that's a bit deserting. Now, as time goes on and more people get involved, well, then you get different opinions. As AI evolves, you get different opinions. So it's something that's going to fade. But right now, that's the one thing that really concerns me, right? What else did I want to talk about? The other questions I asked AI leads us to the topic of today, which is performance-enhanced websites, pay or not to pay. This is going to be a potential feather-ruffling discussion. Wow. So, ladies and gentlemen, what I should do is give you think music. For 5 seconds, you can decide to turn on or turn off. If you're concerned about your feathers being ruffled, maybe it's a good idea. But disclaimer, these are the only opinions of me. They're not necessarily the opinions of the entire marketplace, right? But you ready? Okay, cheers, claps. We're clapping. Can you hear the clapping? All right, what was the next question? Let me put my glasses on so I can read it. Last week, there was a huge conversation, in brackets, argument, on the Facebook pages that I frequent. You've got to remember, we're powered by Duda, so I go to the Duda Facebook page and I go to the Duda support community page because, that's the market we're involved in. And we want to listen to what agencies say. And the conversation was all about Duda widgets that are built in the Duda widget versus generic plugins. Now, let me just say this, kids. Do I really care what you buy? Of course I do, because I make money out of widgets, right? But if you want to decide to buy a generic, I'm not going to hate you. I'll still invite you to my house for a drink. It's still okay. I'm not going to attack you physically and call you a Philistine because you've done it, right? But there should be good pros, cons, all about that sort of stuff. So I'll confess, as I said, that TheCamel is a widget builder, and so you might as well say we're a little bit biased. But hello. For 10 years, what we've done, we've preached the gospel of Duda against the Pharisee Sadducees called WordPress. And one of the biggest things that we've preached against is the security features, right? Because Duda is safe and wonderful, and myself and Nat Rosasco, we always say the reason we love Duda is we can sleep at night. And what's the little dialogue we give you about that is because we don't use plugins. We don't have potential things of security risk and vulnerabilities that come from using a generic style of plugin. We have things that are built in the widget builder, which is housed within the Duda CMS, and it's the strongest, wonderful, most awesome selling point: safe, security, sleep well at night. Now, the plugins, the generic plugins, they're not hosted within Duda, right? They're generic, so it's a bit of code that they take that they can use with WordPress, Zip, Weebly, Wiz, blah, you name it, whatever CMS you're using, they just make a slight tweak or adjustment and you can put it in there, all right? Whereas the Duda widget is built for the Duda platform. And we love it, and we preach that. So instead of joining the online fight, I decided I didn't want to do that. I thought I would ask ChatGPT, because it can't be biased on that. And what was the answer? I asked it about Duda widgets versus generic plugins. And this is the gospel of exactly what it says. It said Duda widgets, those built in the widget builder, provide access to platform features such as collections an API which can be used to create powerful, feature-rich widgets. Couldn't have written that better myself. That was beautiful. That's a sales pitch. Generic plugins are not tailored, more of a one-size-fits-all, and therefore are limited to basic functions. So in other words, ladies and gentlemen, if you want some gung-ho stuff, the generic plugin is not going to be able to cut it because it can't access the features, the API that you need to work within the system, whereas the widget builder can. Here's the big one. Generic widgets could pose security threats as they may contain vulnerabilities which may be difficult to trace as they're based on open source. Whereas the widget built in the widget builder, it's got all Cody stuff in there, so it's easy to find if there's a problem. So what am I saying? Hey, if it's free world, you can buy whatever you want. I said that at the start. I will still love you. But for me, you buy a widget, whether it be from TheCamel or WebAct or Liz DDAC or any other myriad Duda experts and Duda solution partners that make them, you're pretty well safe because it's designed for Duda. Now, you buy a generic plugin, that's up to you. But it's pay per site, it's pay per hit, and sometimes the bill can be a little bit of a surprise. So, let's use what ChatGPT said. And let me use my best Latin I possibly can, and that is caveat emptor. Buyer beware, ladies and gentlemen. But you've got to think about one thing, you know. I'll come to that in a minute. Have we got any questions on that bit so far? No one asked me a question. You're cowards. They're all oh, maybe, I don't know. I hope I haven't caused too much discomfort for generic plugin builders. All right? And away we go. Now, the next part of the question was, let's continue on this performance in hand website, pay or not to pay. Again, continue to disclaimer. This is my view, right? And it may not necessarily be yours, but it's just part of the discussion and we've got to look at it, right? So it's one of those things. Every week, this subject will come up on those, you know, the Duda Facebook page and Duda community page, where somebody, poor innocent victim, will type a question, and it'll go along the thing of, I need this feature for this customer's website. Innocently, they'll make that statement, and they'll be waiting for feedback. And I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, in a heartbeat, there will be people jumping in, and if Duda was an animal, it'd be dead, right? Because they're out there with the knives, stabbing away. Should be standard equipment, they'll say. Doesn't matter what it is. Should be standard equipment. So it should be a performance-enhanced website that you shouldn't have to pay. It should all be there. So what we want to discuss a little bit now is that true? Is it fair? Should you pay for it or should you not pay for it? Should Duda, Wix, Weebly, whoever, have standard equipment that you don't pay for? Should it be free? Keep in mind, folks, I'm not a designer. And I'm not a developer. I'm a salesman. And I've also sold a lot of products over these years, and they were missing standard equipment. You know, that the competitors would have an advantage on certain points that I didn't have. Now, I could do two things. I could lay down and die and go, oh, well, I'll give them the deal and away you go. And you're the same. You could be out there and you could be selling this beautiful website, and all of a sudden they've decided they want some feature that your Duda CMS doesn't have. And as they always say, someone will pipe up, yeah, but WordPress has got it. But hang on a minute, folks. There's 60,000 plugins that are available, some for free, some for pay, when it comes to WordPress. WordPress is a bare bones thing, right? That you've got to have some talent and some ability to use. And there's 60,000 plugins. So when you're going to build a website, it's pretty simple to just, we can pull that off the shelf, that off the shelf, that off the shelf. But going back to my previous discussion about plugins, that's potentially a lot of